Hello there, and welcome to another Intro to Excel video. In this video, we're going to review the count, the COUNTIF, and the COUNTIFS function. Let's get started. So let's get started by looking at the count, COUNTIF, and COUNTIFS functions. Again, we're using the same data set we used in the sum videos, looking at the first 20 games of our high school basketball team. Now, the count function is really valuable because the filtration system doesn't just look at the total number of points, but it actually will look at maybe certain criteria that we write for it. So let's start with the count function. Now, one thing to know about the count function as we get it going here, right, equals count and then the comma, or the parentheses, is that the count function can only be used on numerical values. So for instance, if I wanted to count how many games we had by looking at the win-loss column, I'd get 0. But if I wanted to count the number of games we had using the game number column, we would get 20. So again, you got to make sure that you only use the count function on numerical values. But this completely changes when we jump into the COUNTIF function. And this is where things get really awesome. The COUNTIF function allows us to count a specific array and then use a filter to say, look for this and count that. So for instance, let's count how many away games we had for our total 20 game season. We're going to hit the equal button. We're going to type in COUNTIF this time. We're going to hit tab. And then we are going to go over to the column in column B, the home and away column. You can see we've selected 3 to 23. And remember, if we used the count function, we'd get a 0. But we're telling the formula or the function to only look for the word away. So it's basically going down that column and saying, if you see the away word, then count that. So we hit enter and we have 8 away games, which means that we should have 12 home games. If we change our criteria to home, you can see we have 12. That's, again, a nice way to reference your cells, or reference your equations to different cells so you can change them outside of your formula. We'll move that back to away. Now, let's say we wanted to count multiple criteria, like for instance, how many away games did we have this season that we won? And that is really awesome because then we can really start to filter our data down and get to the bottom of things. So COUNTIFs, and similar to the COUNTIF function, we have a criteria range and a criteria. We can do that potentially exponentially. So we are going to start with our 3 to 23 in column B. Make sure we select that properly. And then we're going to select the criteria of away games. Now, once again, you got to make sure that your cell references line up with each other. If, for instance, if I selected 4 to 23 here and selected wins, we are going to have an error. You see that value? That means something's wrong in our formula. If that's coming up in your formula, you need to make sure that your references are both matched up. So we're going to move that up 1. We're going to hit enter, and there you can see we had 8 away games, and 5 of them were wins. Let's see how many home games we had that are wins. We have 7 home games that are wins, and 5 away games. That's a 12-win season. That's awesome. That is all you need to know about count, COUNTIF, and COUNTIF functions for now. Make sure that you always think about the data set you're using when it comes to these functions and try to find clever ways to use multiple criteria to narrow down what you are looking for in your data set. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.